We're on? Okay. Yeah, we're going to dig around in the 12 prophets for quite a while, and that'll take us everywhere we need to go. But we're going to take a look at Yoel, and this is Yoel Part 1, a look at Joel. But before we take a look at our beloved friend Joel here, we'll talk to our Elohim and move forward. Master Yahuwah, we thank you for this opportunity to study your word. We ask that you will open our eyes, open our ears, and open our hearts so that we can see, hear, and understand that we need to make room for you and build our relationship with you. And we thank you for it all. In the name of Yahshua, amen. All right. So, the name Yoel means Yahuwah is Elohim. And in our study of this book of the Treyasar, we're going to see just how important this is in our lives. And if we say Yoel, that Yahuwah is Elohim, we're also saying that Yahuwah is our mighty judge who has the authority to redeem us, deliver us, restore us, and everything there is, was, and will be today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And what we're going to find out is that we're going to ask, where are we in that relationship? Where are we coming along? We're coming up to, for us, Passover. And on question and answer night, it was asked very seriously about how serious do we take what we're doing at Passover when we drink those cups? Do we really recognize that we are entering into a covenant, or we are renewing a covenant every year? That when we take those cups, when we say I do, it really means that we say I do. So we're going to take a look at this book that is kind of a toe stomper in some areas, but hopefully it's enlightening in the others. So we begin with Yoel chapter 1, verse 1. And we're going to do 4 verses tonight. We're going to try to make it through the whole book of Joel in the next 2 or 3 Tuesdays. But anyway. We start with verse 1. The word of Yahuwah that came to Yoel, the son of Petuel. And it's interesting that this verse begins with the word of Yahuwah coming to Yoel. Now the word for word is debar, that aside from word also means proclamation, declaration, commandment, and promise. And if we recall from Yochanan or John chapter 1, verse 1, he says, in the beginning was the word was with Elohim. Then it says the word was Elohim, not that the word was God, but this is actually telling us that the word has the authority, that it is a mighty judge that has the authority to redeem, deliver, and restore, not just as Yeshua the word, but as the Torah itself also has the authority to judge and to do all the other things that we needed to do. Redeem us, deliver us from whatever, and restore us, if we'll pay attention to it. The name Yahuwah, we've discussed, means existence, but it means everything that exists at every time. And then we read on that this is the word that came to, which is a phrase composed of the words Asher HaElohim. The word Ashar is used in this verse as the word that. But this word also asks the questions who, which, what, where, when, and how. So basically it's asking all the questions that we would ask. So we'll hold on to that for a second, and then we'll consider the next word, which is Chaya, that here it's used for the word came. But literally, Chaya means to be. It means to exist. And it's also one of the roots of the name of Yahuwah. So, The last word of the phrase is El, that's used for two in this verse, but also means towards or into. And it also has an opposing meaning that offers us a choice because it also means against. So if we take all of these definitions and we formulate them into an idea, we could probably say that the word of Yahweh answers every question concerning everything at every time in our existence by and through its proclamation, declaration, commandment, and promise. The word will judge us and has the authority to redeem, deliver, and restore. It is according to the word of Yahweh that we move towards him and in him or against him, and we could actually add in a separation from him. Now, we say that the word will answer every question concerning everything at every time. Now, it's probably not going to answer questions as to what color to wear or silly things. It'll answer questions about dinosaurs, but and if you talk to my Sunday class, it will also answer questions about zombies. But I asked them to tell me, what would you all like to learn about? And aside from some very interesting topics that I'd like to look into, dinosaurs and zombies did come up. So, but it will give us answers to the questions as to what do I do about this problem? How do I go about talking to this person? Why do I feel this way? And I can go to the Psalms and not feel that way after I read in the Psalms for a little while. It won't answer why does this microphone keep slipping. That I probably won't find in there. But anyway. So, what we've just said, that the word of Yahweh answers every question concerning everything at every time in our existence, by and through its proclamation, declaration, commandment, and promise. The word will judge and has the authority to redeem, deliver, and restore. It is according to the word of Yahweh that we move towards him and in him or against him to be separated from him. This is a very important concept for us to consider. And as we go through this book, it's going to be something that keeps coming up. Y'all remind me of my Sunday class, is sitting here playing back and forth. No, just kidding. So, considering that the name Yoel means Yahweh is Elohim, then we can consider the importance of the statement in the light of the first three commandments that say, I am Yahweh Elohecha. And we talked about the word Elohecha. It means your Elohim, but more specifically, he's talking to each and every person individually. So he's talking directly to me, directly to you. I am Yahweh Elohecha, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before me. You shall not make for yourself a graven image or any manner of likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down unto him, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah Elohecha, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and the fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the 1,000th generation of them that love me and keep my commandments. Then the third commandment, you shall not bring the name of Yahweh Elohecha to nothing, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that brings his name to nothing. Now those are his commandments to us. And Moses, in ringing in the middle of the thing, I meant to turn this thing off when I was in the car, and I forgot to remember not to forget to remember. So there we go. Moses in Devarim tells the children of Israel something very important. He says, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. This has to be our response. And you shall love Yahweh Elohecha with all of your heart, and with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. Now we're starting to get into the very meat of what Yoel is trying to tell us. But he's trying to tell a generation that is, if I can find my doohickey, that he's talking to the third and the fourth generation. Now, there's something to consider. For us to do this, we must make space in our hearts and in our lives. And we've talked about the importance of keeping Shabbat, but more about taking the time to set aside to have that meeting with Elohim. But we have to make the space in our hearts and in our lives. And this takes us to the phrase, Ben Petuel, the son of Petuel. Ben means son, but it comes from the root bana, that means, again, to restore and to establish. The roots of Petuel are patach, that means to make a space or to make room. And El, well, it means Elohim. If we consider the Proto-Hebrew of this, then we have the pei, which is a mouth, and then we have the covenant marker. This represents the word or the voice in the covenant. So we take all these meanings of patach or Petuel, that we can develop an idea of being restored and established by making space or room for Elohim, as well as his word and his covenant with us. We have got to take the time to make room in our lives for Elohim to be there. We have got to take the time to make room for that covenant relationship that we have with our Elohim. And this is a major part of what the book of Yoel is about. But it's ignored a lot. You know, we have to get to the point where we're saying, where's my relationship with Elohim? That we have to realize that Elohim exists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He doesn't just exist for the Christians a couple of hours on Sunday, or for us just a couple of hours during the week. That our relationship with him is when we're alone driving down the road in the car, or when we're in our house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That we are always in his presence. We talked about that in Yehezekiel, that Yahweh is always there, but it's up to us to be able to perceive that presence or not. So this is a major part of what the book of Yoel is about. The overall idea for this verse is the word of Yahweh answers every question concerning everything at every time in our existence by and through its proclamation, declaration, commandments, and promise. The word will judge and has the authority to redeem, deliver, and restore. It is according to the word of Yahweh that we move towards him and in him or against him, becoming separated from him. We are restored and established by making space or room for Elohim, as well as his word and his covenant with us. We cannot allow ourselves to become the third generation, this Gimel. Gimel means wealth, it means stability. We can't allow ourselves to become the third generation that's so wrapped up in Gimel that it depends on its own wealth and stability. This leads to the fourth generation, which is Dalet, that they're so wrapped up in the fact that I am Elohim. They're so wrapped up in their own wealth and stability that they get into a state of spiritual poverty that they don't even recognize the very existence of Yahuwah Elohim. Okay? We cannot allow ourselves to become the third generation, depending on ourselves. We can't allow that to lead us to a state of spiritual poverty where we don't recognize that Yahuwah Elohim is real. I asked my youth class every Sunday, I said, what is the most important question that you have to ask yourself? And that most important question that they respond is, do I believe that Yahuwah Elohim exists? Because if I don't, then what's the use? But if I say, yes, my Elohim exists and he's present in my life, then I have to pay attention to what the book of Yoel is telling me. So, to only recognize God, if we put it together, to only recognize God and reject Yahuwah Elohim is to break the first 3 commandments and also to reject the Shema. If we consider the teaching of Yahshua, he stated that the Shema was the first great commandment. And there at Mark 12:29 and 30, said, and Yahshua answered him, the first of all commandments is, Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah is our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul. He also says with all your mind and with all your strength. And then he says, this is the first commandment. It makes sense to love Elohim with all our mind because that's how we push this worship down into our deeper being, into our soul. So, how do we love Yahuwah Elohim with all of our strength? When we love our neighbor as ourselves is what he went on to say, because if we are all in the image of Elohim, then we acknowledge Elohim by loving our neighbor as ourselves. So, now, having considered verse 1, let's take a look at verse 2. That says, Hear this, you old men, and give ear, all of you inhabitants of the land. Has this been in your days or in the days of your fathers? So let's consider this question topically. Have the days of our Shema, our perceiving, discerning, and understanding that Yahuwah Elohim is greater than we are, have these days ended? Have the days of guarding and walking according to his Torah in obedience, application to our lives, and in joy come to an end? Have these days come to an end? If we consider the tenets of Judaism and the doctrines of Christianity, we really seriously need to take a look at these questions and ask, where are we? What do I have to do to get back to our Elohim? And this is, I guess it comes back to this next phrase, that the worship of the Torah observant children of Israel is not Judaism or Christianity, both who have rejected Yahuwah Elohim, having fabricated the Lord God to replace him. We have forgotten who Yahuwah Elohim is. We've come up with the Lord God, and we've lost the idea of a mighty judge who has the authority to redeem us, deliver us, and restore us in everything at every time by and through Yahshua. As a concept, again, we go back to the idea that Yahuwah is the only one that can do it. It was made possible by Yahshua, the Son of Man, who through his blood provided the means for that to happen. But we've gone to Eozus, that's now a combination of 2 deities crunched together. These names don't mean anything. And we say that Hebrew, the language of our Elohim, is an explosive language that helps us to understand exactly what Elohim is saying to us. Now, yes, we use the vernacular at times because we have to. When we're helping someone or we're coming someone and someone's new, we can't help but talk about Jesus to this person because they're not going to understand Yahshua from the man on the moon. But once we get that person to understand, then we stop feeding them the milk and start feeding them the meat. People can't go straight to eating solid food. So how do we love our neighbor as ourselves? It's by recognizing where they're at before we go, I say go to guns. We have to gently and lovingly nurture people for them to understand. So, but again, the worship of the Torah-observant children of Israel is not Judaism and Christianity. The prophets were not popular because their message, though true, was not popular. The third and fourth generation cannot or will not perceive this. It is the 1,000th generation of those who love him and keep his commandments that will. Say 1,000, 1 and 1,000. 1 and 1,000 equal the numerical value for the Aleph. So what are we saying in the 1,000th generation of them that love me is the generation that recognizes that they have to have a responsibility with Yahuwah Elohim. And they make teshuvah, and they come back, and they keep the commandments of Elohim. We love him, we keep his commandments, and as a result, this is the generation to whom Elohim will show mercy, undeserved favor. This will be literally stated in this book as we move forward. And literally it says exactly what we've talked about as we move on. Verse 3 is also very clear. This error has to be corrected. Verse 3 says, "Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation." We don't have to go very far to understand the seriousness of what we're talking about. Corruption is born and bred of ignorance, and it is spread to our children and to their children. It is here that the truth can be maintained, or a lie can blossom into a new but false truth. Recall that Yahuwah said that he will visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. The iniquity is the lawlessness, the Torahlessness, that the fathers, when they step away from keeping Torah, they step away from having a relationship with Elohim, they go after false deities. That gets transferred to the children, and that gets transferred to the grandchildren. It goes to the great grandchildren, on and on and on. We look at the damage that was done between Adam and Methuselah, that it was just a mess all the way through. And even though they had Seth and Enoch and Methuselah and Noah in there trying to teach and trying to get the people back to Elohim, it still became so corrupted that Elohim had to basically purge it out and essentially start over. So we read the results of not correcting this condition in the next several verses, which we will consider in more detail. Now, for tonight, we're going to consider verse 4, and then we will go and we'll consider 1 or 2 or 3 verses as we go. Yoel is, in the Torah, it's 4 chapters, and in our King Jimmy-based Bibles, it's 3. So, verse 4 says, "That which the palmer worm has left has the locust eaten, and that which the locust has left has the cankerworm eaten, and that which the cankerworm has left has the caterpillar eaten." There's a lot of little bugs there. So, this verse begins with the word yeter. In the verse it means has left. But this word also means abundance and rest. The word for palmer worm is hagazam, that actually, it's another word for locust. This word comes from a primitive root that means to devour. And the Proto-Hebrew of this word, if we look at the Proto-Hebrew, we have the Gimel, which is a foot. We have the Zion, which is a blade. And we have the Mem, which is water. That we have an idea of trampling and shearing the word from the Proto-Hebrew. So In this we can formulate an idea. Hi, Naomi. No, that's not our idea. We have another idea. We can formulate an idea that we must not trample or take away from the word, as to do so will cause our abundance and rest to be devoured. When the scripture speaks of not breaking the Torah or of breaking the Torah, the word used for breaking is usually parar. That means to trample, it means to split, and it also means to violate. So we consider the words of Yahuwah to Moses at Devarim 31:16 through 18. Yahuwah says to Moses, "Behold, you are about to sleep with your fathers, and this people will rise up and go astray after foreign deities of the land, where they go to be among them, and they will forsake me, and break," there's the word parar, "my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them." So, not to keep the word, we become separated from Elohim. We can't perceive his presence. "I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall come upon them, so that they will say in that day, are not these evils come upon us because our Elohim is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evil which they shall have wrought, in that they have turned to other Elohim." When he says he will hide his face, the word for face is literally panah. He's saying, I will hide my presence. We won't be able to perceive him. And if we go after some other deity, how can we perceive Yahuwah Elohim? And I know some people think, well, that's kind of nitpicking, but in the Lord God, there's no meaning in those words. How can we perceive something greater than we are in everything there is, was, and will be? So when we go after other deities, we lose touch with our Elohim. Now Yahshua also had something to say in Matthew 24, 4 and 5. It says, "And Yahshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many." And then we jump down to verses 10 and 12, and he says, And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So what is going on here? What is Yahshua talking about? That when there's that separation, when we allow people to deceive us, or when we allow these false prophets to come in and change the word of Elohim, whether they be the rabbis and their rabbinical takanot and their decrees, or whether it be the church fathers with their doctrines, or whether it be Pastor Joe up the street that decides that this is the way it should be, or Rabbi so-and-so that decides that this is the way it should be, and it goes contrary to the Torah, then it causes a separation from Elohim. So it doesn't have to be a prophet. It can be someone who is a spiritual leader of the people. Ultimately, we say, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it for us to be able to maintain a relationship with Elohim? Is it the pastor's responsibility, or the preacher, or the rabbi's responsibility? Or is it our responsibility as an individual to keep a relationship with our Elohim? So something that we have to keep in mind. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And that's not just the love towards one another, but this is the idea that, well, that God stuff's only good for a couple of hours a week on Sunday or Saturday or whatever you want to call it. So, now, recalling what we considered in the first part of this study, and then adding in what we